They call it protection. They call it affordable. They call it peace of mind. But the word you'll never see in their glossy ads is the one that truly defines insurance premiums: trap. Because those monthly payments you make, the ones that promise security for your family and survival in a crisis, are not built to protect you. They're built to escalate, to multiply, to bleed you dry over a lifetime while offering nothing but a fragile illusion of safety. Here's the forbidden truth. Affordable premiums are a myth engineered to get you in the door. Once you sign, the real game begins. Premiums are designed to rise. It's in the contracts, hidden behind vague legal language and loopholes. Variable rates are coded into the system. Age penalties are built into the fine print. And as inflation spikes or crises erupt, your costs soar. Not by accident, but by design. The companies know you'll keep paying because you can't afford not to. That is the leverage of fear. Look at the scandals. During the pandemic, when millions lost their jobs, insurance giants didn't freeze or lower premiums to help struggling families. They raised them. Reports showed hikes of 20%, 30%, sometimes more, justified under the excuse of rising healthcare costs. But those same companies reported record profits. While people begged for survival, insurers quietly pocketed billions. That's not protection. That's exploitation in its purest form. And it's not just healthcare. Life insurance, car insurance, home insurance, they all follow the same formula. Hook you with low monthly premiums when you're young, then ratchet up the costs. As you age, as your risks increase, as you become more desperate to hold on to coverage, the premiums don't just climb a little, they skyrocket, often doubling or tripling over decades until families are paying thousands every year just to cling to the illusion that they're safe. Consider this. A middle-class family signs up for health coverage at $400 per month. It feels manageable, but by the time their kids reach college, that manageable premium has ballooned to over $200 per month, and that's before deductibles, co-pays, or hidden fees. Multiply that by decades, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars drained into a system that may still deny you when you need it most. That's not peace of mind. That's financial slavery disguised as security. The psychology is brutal. People convince themselves that as long as they're paying premiums, they're protected. But protection is the illusion. What you're really buying is permission to stay inside the system. Nothing more. If you miss a payment, if you fall behind, your coverage can vanish overnight, regardless of how many years you've already sacrificed. The money is gone, and so is your safety net. And when you try to fight back, the fine print is already against you. This isn't random greed, it's systemic engineering. Premiums are structured to rise faster than wages, faster than savings, faster than the economy itself. That means the longer you live, the deeper you sink. Families become trapped in lifetime payments, enslaved to policies they can't afford to cancel, terrified to leave yet devastated by staying. It's a no-win scenario where the house always wins, and you are the house's primary source of profit. The illusion is powerful because it plays on your deepest fear, losing everything in a crisis, and insurers know it. That's why they push advertising that ties premiums to love, to responsibility, to morality itself. If you love your family, you'll protect them. If you're responsible, you'll get coverage. It's emotional blackmail, converting survival instinct into lifelong payments. But the reality is cruel. When collapse strikes, those rising premiums will not save you. They'll suffocate you. Ask yourself, if premiums truly protected people, why do so many insured families still go bankrupt? Why do medical bills remain the leading cause of financial collapse in the United States, despite widespread insurance coverage? Because premiums aren't protection. They're bait. They're the shiny hook that drags you deeper into contracts designed to extract wealth, not provide care. This is the first trap, the illusion that your monthly payments buy you safety. In truth, they buy you dependency. They buy you fear. And once you're locked in, The rising costs will haunt you for the rest of your life. But premiums are just the bait. The real trap is buried much deeper. They call it comprehensive coverage. They tell you it's protection for every possibility. They sell you the dream that no matter what happens, you and your family are safe. But here's the forbidden truth. Most insurance coverage is an illusion, a mirage engineered to vanish the moment you need it most. Hidden inside the fine print are exclusions so precise, so ruthless, that the majority of claims can be denied with a single technicality. Pre-existing conditions, out-of-network hospitals, undefined emergencies, experimental treatments. The list of exclusions is endless, and the companies know exactly how to weaponize them. You pay for comprehensive coverage, but what you actually bought is a policy, riddled with hidden clauses designed to collapse under pressure. Consider the staggering number of denied claims. Every year, insurers reject millions of requests for care. The reasons? Sometimes absurd, sometimes tragic. A heart attack patient denied because the ambulance drove to an out-of-network hospital. A cancer patient refused treatment because the procedure was deemed experimental, even though it was their only chance at survival. A child's life-saving medication excluded under the label of not medically necessary. These aren't rare mistakes. They are the business model. And the stories are everywhere. Families bankrupted after believing their coverage would protect them. A mother in Texas forced into $200,000 of debt after her insurer denied neonatal care for her premature baby. A father in New York denied coverage for surgery after an accident because of a vague lifestyle clause hidden in the policy. Elderly couples denied heart treatments because they missed a paperwork deadline by a single day. These aren't isolated tragedies. They are symptoms of a system designed to deny first, delay second, and profit always. The trick lies in the language. Policies are written in deliberately vague terms. Reasonable and customary care, necessary procedures, approved treatments. These phrases sound harmless, but they give insurers total discretion. If they decide your care isn't reasonable, you pay. If they decide it wasn't necessary, you pay. If they decide your doctor wasn't approved, you pay. It's a loaded dice game where every roll tilts in their favor, and the financial consequences are devastating. Coverage denial is one of the leading drivers of medical bankruptcy, even among families who believed they were fully insured. The illusion of protection lulls people into complacency until the bills arrive. Suddenly, their comprehensive policy collapses into a worthless piece of paper, and the survival costs fall squarely on them. Meanwhile, the insurer has already pocketed years of premiums. Healthcare collapse is not just about rising costs. It's about the engineered fragility of coverage. Insurers create contracts so full of hidden traps that actual protection becomes almost impossible. The entire model is built on what they can exclude, not what they can include. That's how they maximize profit, by selling you air disguised as security. And let's not forget the psychological manipulation. The illusion of coverage makes you believe you're protected, so you take risks you otherwise wouldn't. You choose treatments, surgeries, or procedures under the belief that insurance will handle it. Only later do you learn that the coverage you trusted has evaporated. That false confidence becomes another tool of financial enslavement. The outrage should be overwhelming. Billion-dollar insurers denying life-saving care while reporting record profits. Executives taking home multi-million-dollar bonuses while families are forced to choose between treatment and bankruptcy. Politicians receiving donations to protect the system while ordinary people collapse under bills they never thought they'd face. This isn't incompetence. This is conspiracy disguised as commerce. Ask yourself, if insurance truly worked, why do medical bankruptcies continue to rise? Why do families with comprehensive coverage still lose everything in a health crisis? Because the coverage itself was never real. It was a mirage, a carefully constructed illusion designed to disappear the moment you step into it. And here's the most chilling part. Even when coverage does exist, insurers will delay, stall, and bury claims in red tape until you give up. They don't just profit from denying coverage. They profit from exhausting you into surrender. And that's how the mirage keeps working, by convincing you it's real until it's far too late. You thought your premiums bought protection. You thought your policy guaranteed survival. But what you actually bought was an illusion, one engineered to collapse exactly when you need it most. And when you think you're protected, the next trap hits hardest. If premiums are the bait, and coverage is the mirage, then the fine print is the blade hidden behind the smile. It's the weapon insurers use when all else fails, the dense jungle of buried clauses, vague language, and legal loopholes that ensure they can always find a way to deny you care. Every policy comes with dozens, sometimes hundreds, of pages of contracts written in language so convoluted it might as well be code. These documents aren't designed to inform you. They're designed to confuse you, to lull you into signing without fully understanding what you've agreed to. And buried inside those lines of jargon are the keys to your financial ruin. Consider the language: reasonable and customary, experimental treatment, excluded services. At first glance, these terms seem clear enough, but in practice, they're deliberately vague. Who decides what's reasonable? The insurer. Who defines experimental? The insurer. Who gets to exclude services? The insurer. It's not just a contract, it's a trap disguised as legality. And they don't stop there. Insurers employ armies of lawyers whose sole purpose is to weaponize this fine print against you. These aren't ordinary attorneys. They are specialists trained to exploit technicalities. Missed a filing deadline by a single day? Denied. Filled out the wrong form in the wrong color ink? Denied. Forgot to disclose a minor condition from 10 years ago? Denied. Every technicality becomes a weapon. Every loophole another excuse to keep your money while abandoning you in crisis. The lawsuits tell the story. Across the country, families and patients have dragged insurers into court after being denied life-saving treatments. Cases reveal shocking internal memos where executives openly strategized on how to deny claims en masse. In one notorious case, a woman was denied a bone marrow transplant because her insurer classified it as experimental, even though it was the standard treatment recommended by doctors. She died while lawyers debated definitions. In another, a child's heart surgery was delayed for weeks as the company searched for contractual excuses to deny coverage. That delay cost the child his life. These aren't accidents. They're patterns. The fine print is designed to be a fortress, and insurers know most people will never have the money, the stamina, or the legal firepower to fight back. For every family that sues, thousands more quietly surrender, crushed under hidden costs they never anticipated. The contract becomes a weaponized tool of survival extortion. And let's be clear, the hidden costs aren't limited to care. They bleed into every part of your life. Legal fees from fighting denials, interest charges from credit cards used to pay uncovered bills, lost wages from time spent battling the insurer instead of working. The fine print doesn't just deny you treatment. It denies you stability, dignity, and hope. This is the tyranny of the fine print, a system where words on paper hold more power than doctors, where vague clauses decide life or death, where billion-dollar corporations profit from the suffering of people too exhausted to keep fighting. And yet, as sinister as it sounds, this layer of trickery is only the surface. Because while the fine print can destroy individuals and families, there's a deeper level where the stakes are far higher, where entire nations collapse under the weight of engineered survival costs. But these tricks look harmless compared to what comes next. If the fine print is the knife, then crisis is the feeding frenzy. Because the truth about insurance is this: they don't just survive during disasters, they thrive. Every war, every pandemic, every economic collapse becomes an opportunity for them to squeeze more money out of people who have no choice but to pay. Welcome to the crisis profit model, where your survival becomes their biggest payday. Look back at the global pandemic. Families lost jobs, businesses shuttered, economies buckled. People turned to insurance for the protection they'd been promised. But instead of relief, they were met with skyrocketing premiums, delayed claims, and ruthless denials. At the very moment people were most vulnerable, Insurers reported record profits. Billions pocketed while millions suffered. That's not coincidence. That's design. It's a model that repeats throughout history. Natural disasters devastate entire regions, and insurers raise premiums across the board. Wars disrupt healthcare systems, and policies suddenly exclude acts of conflict. Economic. Inflation eats away at wages, and insurers use it as justification for price hikes. At every turn, survival costs climb higher, and the corporations tighten their grip. Consider healthcare collapse in the United States. Even before the pandemic, insurers used every crisis, opioid epidemics, hospital shortages, rising drug costs, as an excuse to demand more money. A single unexpected diagnosis can lead to premiums doubling or tripling, and once you're in crisis, you can't walk away. You're locked in, dependent on the very system that's bleeding you. The cruelest part? The illusion of scarcity. Insurers justify their hikes by claiming resources are limited, that rising costs leave them no choice. But internal reports and whistleblower leaks tell a different story. Executive bonuses climb. Shareholder dividends increase. Marketing budgets explode. While ordinary people choose between treatment and bankruptcy, billionaires at the top celebrate another profitable quarter. This isn't accidental profiteering, it's systemic exploitation. Insurance isn't designed to protect against crisis, it's designed to harvest crisis. Every disaster becomes another chance to re-engineer the economy, so survival itself is more expensive. And the manipulation isn't just financial, it's psychological. Fear becomes the currency of crisis. When pandemics spread, when hurricanes strike, when inflation rises, people are terrified of losing everything. Insurers weaponize that fear, sending messages like, "Now more than ever you need coverage." They frame rising costs as responsibility, conditioning you to believe that higher payments are the only way to keep your family safe. It's survival blackmail on a mass scale. Take the case of homeowners in disaster zones. After hurricanes destroyed communities along the Gulf Coast, insurance premiums for those areas didn't just rise, they tripled. Some families were forced to abandon homes passed down for generations, not because the storm destroyed them, but because insurance made them unaffordable. That's how crisis becomes profit, by turning tragedy into opportunity. The cycle is endless. Each new emergency fuels another round of hikes, exclusions, and denials. The worse the crisis, the more the system profits. And the more the system profits, the more it entrenches itself, making future crises even more devastating. It's a feedback loop of engineered survival costs, where collapse is not a threat but a business model. And let's not forget the role of technology. Algorithms now monitor global trends in real time, predicting disasters before they happen. Instead of using this data to prepare protections, insurers use it to raise rates, adjust policies, and limit coverage in advance. By the time the crisis reaches you, the trap is already set. Ask yourself, why do insurers never truly collapse? During recessions, wars, or pandemics? Why do they always emerge wealthier, stronger, and more powerful? Because the system is rigged to ensure that crisis is not their weakness, but their greatest strength. This is the crisis profit model, where every disaster, every collapse, every tragedy feeds the machine. And if you think premiums, denials, and fine print were bad, wait until you see what happens when survival itself is no longer a right, but a commodity bought and sold at the highest price. Because at the deepest layer, survival itself becomes the product. We've peeled back the layers, the premium illusion, the coverage mirage, the tyranny of fine print, and the crisis profit model. Each trap more sinister than the last, but all of them point toward something even darker. At the deepest level, the system reveals its ultimate design. Survival itself is no longer a right. It's a product, and unless you can afford the price, you don't get to live. This is the forbidden truth. Insurance didn't evolve into a safety net for society. It evolved into a marketplace of life and death, where your health, your future, and your very existence are commodities traded for profit. And the corporations that control this system don't just profit from your fear of collapse, they profit from collapse itself. Think about how survival has been financialized. Healthcare costs rise every year, far beyond inflation. Rent, food, education, all tied to credit, loans, and contracts engineered to keep you paying forever. Insurance is the centerpiece of this machine. It turns the most basic human instinct, to survive, into an endless source of revenue. You don't buy protection, you lease existence, and the lease never ends. The illusion of freedom is shattered when you realize how deep the chains go. Want to see a doctor? Pay first. Need surgery? Swipe the card. Facing cancer? Take out another loan. Even death is commodified, with funeral expenses and life insurance payouts turned into another revenue stream for the corporations. From cradle to grave, survival is monetized, and the system is engineered to ensure you can never fully escape. Consider the staggering statistics. Medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in the United States, even among families with insurance. That means millions of people every year discover too late that their coverage was worthless, their premiums wasted, their survival sold off to the highest bidder. Meanwhile, the insurance giants report record-breaking profits. In 2023 alone, the top health insurers made over $60 billion in profit, during a time when ordinary families were drowning in medical bills. Survival is their product, and crisis is their marketing strategy. But it's not just about money. It's about power. When survival is commodified, control shifts entirely to those who hold the contracts. Insurers decide who gets care and who doesn't. They decide who gets to live and who is left behind. Hospitals bend to their demands. Doctors fight with their paperwork. Patients become pawns in a system where the final decision is not medical, but financial. This is not healthcare. This is corporate triage. Look at the patterns in developing nations. In countries like Angola, global insurers and pharmaceutical companies leverage poverty to sell survival at inflated prices. Entire populations trapped in debt for basic medications, while elites and foreign investors profit. The same model, exported worldwide. Engineer scarcity, then sell survival as luxury. It's not just one nation. It's the blueprint for global financial slavery. And the cruelty doesn't stop at denial of care. Sometimes, survival itself becomes a gamble. Insurers offer tiered plans, gold, silver, bronze, as if human life were a product on a shelf. The wealthy buy gold tier survival. The poor are forced into bronze tier collapse, and the gap grows wider every year. Billionaires live longer, healthier lives, while ordinary people are discarded as liabilities, unprofitable bodies left to decay under engineered poverty. The worst part? People accept it. Conditioned by decades of propaganda, families believe this is the only way. That survival must be paid for in endless premiums. That bankruptcy is an unavoidable risk. That denial of care is just how the system works. But none of this is natural. None of this is accidental. It was built, brick by brick, clause by clause, bailout by bailout, to ensure that your survival is never secure, only rented. And now, technology is making it worse. With the rise of AI-driven insurance models, survival is being priced in real time. Algorithms analyze your data, your diet, your exercise, your family history, even your genetic code, and adjust your rates accordingly. Imagine being charged more because you ate fast food twice last week, or denied coverage because your wearable device reported too few steps. This isn't speculation. It's happening now. Survival is no longer just a commodity. It's a calculation, constantly monitored, constantly priced, constantly leveraged against you. Ask yourself, how much longer can this system sustain itself? How many families will collapse under rising survival costs before the entire economy buckles? The truth is, the collapse is already here. Survival costs are rising faster than wages, faster than savings, faster than hope itself. And unless you're among the billionaires who built this machine, you're already inside it. feeding it with every payment, every bill, every desperate swipe of the card. This is the final trap: survival as a commodity. A world where your ability to live is no longer determined by doctors, by community, or by humanity itself, but by contracts written in boardrooms, loopholes crafted by lawyers, and algorithms designed to extract profit until your very last breath. And if you thought premiums, coverage denial, fine print, and crisis profiteering were horrifying, this is worse. Because here there's no escape, no pause button, no relief. Only the endless demand that you pay for survival, or forfeit it. And the final layer of control isn't financial, it's psychological. Now you've seen it. The illusion of affordable premiums, the mirage of coverage, the tyranny of fine print, the crisis profit model, the commodification of survival, and the psychological manipulation that keeps it all hidden. Each layer carefully engineered, each trap designed to tighten its grip. What was sold to you as protection has been exposed as the most profitable scam in modern history. A system that doesn't just feed on your money, but on your fear, your health, and your very will to survive. Insurance giants are not guardians, they are predators. Hospitals are not sanctuaries, they are marketplaces. Billionaires do not want you healthy, they want you desperate, because desperation pays, fear pays, survival itself pays. And the longer you stay in the dark, the more you will feed the machine that was built to consume you. But now you know the forbidden truth. The illusion has been shattered. You can no longer look at a policy, a premium, or a promise without seeing the hidden costs buried inside. You understand how the system profits most in crisis, how it engineers poverty, how it manipulates your psychology with fear and data traps. You know that survival has been turned into a commodity, and that the longer you play their game, the closer you come to collapse. The urgent warning is this: if you don't act now, it won't just be your money at risk. It will be your freedom. It will be your future. It will be your life. Because the system is accelerating. Premiums rise faster every year. Exclusions multiply. Algorithms grow sharper. AI is learning not just how to predict your behavior, but how to control it. And once that control is total, there will be no escape. You must protect yourself while there is still time. Read every contract. Question every premium. Refuse to surrender your data to the surveillance economy. Share this knowledge before it's buried again. Because silence only strengthens the machine, and ignorance only feeds it. Remember, survival should never be a product. Safety should never be a luxury. Freedom should never come with a monthly fee. But unless enough people see through the illusion, the trap will keep closing, generation after generation, until no one remembers a time when survival was free. This exposé was just the beginning. The next forbidden truth is even darker. Because while insurance profits from your survival, there's another system that profits from your every thought, every purchase, every decision. A system of algorithms and corporations even more invasive than insurers. And when you see how deep that rabbit hole goes, you'll realize this: the insurance trap was only the beginning.